Garcia from USA Today. Can you talk about Nebraska and what the addition of Nebraska does for you as far as your recruiting base? And I have a follow-up question too.
Yeah, I'm not so sure what it's going to do for us recruiting-wise, but I think it's a tremendous addition to our conference. It makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, and I think certainly being from Iowa, I think a lot of people in our state are excited about it. I know when I travel around the state, that's one of the more asked questions, are we ever going to play them again in our non-league portion of the schedule. So I think that'll probably take care of itself now. And on that front, certainly people in Iowa are very excited about it. And I think that more importantly for the entire conference, it's a real positive. I think everybody's very excited about the addition of Nebraska.
Coach Bielema talked about wanting like a rivalry game with them, and talked about texting, associate commissioner about that. Is that something you'd like to see for Iowa? To have a rivalry game with Nebraska every year?
Yeah, I can read text. I can't send them. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'll work on that next summer. It's going to be interesting. And the one thing I do know, I've never been through an expansion process. Certainly, never been witness to it. Things are going to be different. It's going to be a different approach, totally. And I'm sure there are going to be some traditional things that get changed a little bit. I think it's just probably a natural byproduct of expansion. But, wiser heads are going to prevail on that. We've got people that are more qualified to make those decisions, making those decisions. And I think once everybody settles in, everybody will be happy, and everything's going to work out just fine.
Maybe a question over there to the right.
Coach, given your win in the Orange Bowl and Ohio State's in the Rose Bowl, and the expectations for those two programs coming in this season along with Wisconsin, do you think the national perception of the conference is changing for the better, and if so, how?
Yeah, I remember coming here in 2002, and we were getting beaten up pretty good as a league, and I don't even know if we had a returning quarterback that year or anybody prominent. Brad Banks ended up having a pretty good year, and I think we had 4 teams in the top 13 at the end of the day, and Ohio State won the national title that year. So, a year ago or the last several years, there's been a lot of negative talk, I guess, however you want to put it. And I just go back to a year ago. Ohio State lost a very tough game, a very competitive, excellent football game against Texas in a bowl. I think Northwestern lost in overtime to Missouri. So I think perception, a lot of times, perception's one thing, but if you look at reality, the truth is somewhere in the middle. And it was a good year for the conference last year, certainly. I've been associated with this league. It's my 12th year going as a head coach, and I just think the Big Ten's absolutely fantastic in all regards. I don't think we have to defend ourselves to anybody, and let the results speak as they may. And that's really what football is all about, anyway. So, but things are going to swing back and forth, and that's just how it works.
A question over to the left in the middle.
Kirk, you often joke that nobody asks you for your opinion on things, but
there's a reason for that too.
If you had a preference on the divisional alignment and teams maybe that you play annually, Wisconsin and Minnesota are the two you play annually now. Are those you'd like to see continue, or do you have a real preference?
I'll give you a very honest answer. I don't have a preference, and then if I did, I probably wouldn't share it right now. But I really don't have a preference. I think. Obviously there's certain things that seem logical, but anytime you go through, if you're in charge of overseeing this whole realignment, it's not going to be just as simple as what looks to be logical. So those are discussions I know that are going on, or are going to be continuing to go on, and we'll just live with whatever gets decided.
You've got a question way in the back.
Your team was picked as the preseason #2 behind Ohio State, who's been a part of the last 5 Big Ten championships. What do you think personally about your team's chances to kind of knock Ohio State off their pedestal?
We haven't had much luck. We had a great game with them last year, and it was a great college football game. If I wasn't a coach, I would have really enjoyed the game. We came out on the short end, so it was tough to enjoy it. But it was a great college football game. But over the long haul, nobody can dispute what's the record say. Ohio State's just done a tremendous job the last 5 years, and really since I go back to 1981, ever since I've been really paying attention to the Big Ten. And I know there are 13 years, more than 13 years prior to that, but they've traditionally just been an outstanding program. And one thing for sure, if you're going to try to win a Big Ten championship, you're going to have to find a way to compete with them and beat them. And that's not many people have had much luck doing that.
Next question's over here in the
Coach, right here. third game this season in Tucson. I know it's really hard to prepare a team for heat, and I know it gets humid in Iowa this time of year anyway, but what do you do?
Yeah, I don't think the heat's as big a factor as maybe the time zone. I'm not really wild about West Coast trips during the season. You know, I don't think it's the greatest thing in the world for a team from the Midwest or the East Coast. But all that being said, we've got a game with them. It's scheduled, and you know, the good news is I guess we did okay down there in the 80s. I remember making 2 trips there as an assistant. I also remember our last trip down to Arizona. It wasn't Arizona University of, but it was in Tempe, and you know, we had a game scheduled there. We just forgot to show up. So that's just, you know, it's our approach. It's going to come down to our approach. We already know right now it's going to be a 9:35 Central kickoff time, and that's going to be a late night. So you know, we've got a couple months here to get ready for that mentally, and hopefully we'll show up in both regards.
Got time for a couple more questions, if there are any. Right here in front, please.
With the positive start you had last year and going undefeated, but eventually losing those 2 games here late in the season, are you hoping to sort of use that as motivation going forward into the season in addition to building off your bowl win?
You know, I think more importantly than the start is you know, we have to look at how those games went, each and every one of them. And you know, we lost 2 heartbreakers certainly, but if you look at the wins that we had, and it goes back to the preseason rankings, what have you. All I know is this last year, it took us. We were very fortunate to get our first win. You know, it didn't come easy at all. Northern Iowa took us right to the end, and we were very, very fortunate to get out of there with a victory. So before we went on our run, that first one came extremely, it was tough. It was a challenge. And I expect all of our games to be that way this year. You know, we're playing in a conference that's extremely competitive. We just talked about Arizona. So before we get too far down the road or too far ahead of ourselves, you know, we just really need to keep an eye on what's right in front of us. And really the most important thing right now is what we do the next couple of weeks, just to give ourselves a chance to compete the way we need to and have some success. But it's going to be tough for us.
Got a question right here.
Kirk, the running back competition, and where do you see that going in camp, and are there expectations for where you'd like to be at that spot coming out?
Well, you know, hopefully it's, you know, pardon the pun, but a healthier situation than it has been the last couple of years. You go back 2 years ago, we got Sean Green came out of a furniture store and, you know, gave us a heck of a boost. And then right behind him was Jewel Hampton, a kid out of high school, ended up being our number 2 guy. And as the season went on, really developed into a good football player. I thought he competed really well. And then last year, you know, we were having a hard time keeping 2 guys, getting 2 guys to a game healthy between Adam Robinson and Brendan Weiger. So, you know, in a perfect world, you know, I don't want to get greedy here, but, you know, I'd settle for having 2 guys healthy at every kickoff, and then a little bit of luck, we might have 3 that, you know, have game experience, and I think all improved. You know, they're all first-year players, basically, going into their second years, and all 3 of them made real improvement during the course of their first seasons on the field. So we're excited about the group, really not sure how it's all going to shake out yet, and we'll probably determine that as we get closer to the season.
Any other questions for Coach? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.